what size you are. And women empowerment is very, very big on social media and in today's day and age, right? But where's the men's empowerment? I thought about this, and I was having a conversation the other day with a friend. I'm like, just telling me all these stories about these guys who, are still being called fat, even though they're skinny and they're not up to the standards, and girls feel like them, all these things, right? But nobody ever talks about it. Men's, I guess, image, So I guess you being in the modeling industry, what was it like? I mean, how was body image portrayed in the modeling industry, and did you struggle with it at all?
That's a great question, Holly. And what you said before, like, because we got to touch on that. That was real, super quick. You said,
sure.
Why do I have to work so hard at trying to be somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, that's deep. That's real, where it's like, it's exhausting to try to be someone else. Like you said, you're an actor, where it's like, you're always acting a part nonstop. Like, we call that the avatar. Like on social media, you got the avatar up, because it's how you want people to see you, how you want to be portrayed by the world. But then we ask that question again, shout out to everybody at Success Epitomized. We asked that question of, who were you before the world told you who you should be?
Yeah,
like get into that very essence of who you really are. Like, before someone created that fake image of themselves to just survive in the world or to survive in society, who are they really? So I thought that was super deep, what you just said. I was like, oh man, that's real. Might have to steal that from you.
That's awesome. I love that question. I love that question that you use.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 30 Days to Happiness podcast. Today, we have an exciting guest who's a model, a life coach, a personal trainer, and many other things. His name is Zach Riddle. He's from the States, the US. And I'll just tell you a little bit about him, because he has such a positive vibration and energy, and you can just tell that he is living in purpose. And I just love it. And I'm so excited to talk about a few things that not many people talk about. And that's what I want this podcast to be about, is about things that people just don't really want to talk about, right? Or is not really, I guess, portrayed on social media at all. So keep listening. Anyway, so Zach Riddle, he is a professional model from the past 6 years. He's worked with companies such as Nautica, Nike, Cotton On, and many others. He's also a mental performance specialist for a company called Success. How do you pronounce it, Zach?
That's hilarious. Yeah, Success Epitomized.
So Success Epitomized. That absolutely changed his life.
Nice.
I love that. He also has a wonderful team that focuses on helping people reach peak performance by transforming their minds, which I thought was pretty cool. He's a life coach with an agency called A New Life Coaching Agency, and he helps people answer these very specific 5 questions. Zach, do you want to explain these 5 questions in your own words?
Yes, of course. So first and foremost, thanks for having me, Holly. I appreciate it. It's such a blessing to be here. This is so awesome. So yeah, those 5 questions of life that changed my life, that really, like, every mental health issue kind of stems from not knowing the answers to those 5 questions. So first and foremost, it's, who am I? And that right there is a big one. Who am I? Because you can go to society, and society can say you're somebody. You can go to maybe somebody at school. They can say you're somebody. They can, a teacher can say you're somebody. Maybe all these people have these different viewpoints, these different perspectives on who you are, but it's like, who are you really? And the interesting thing about this is, like, to know what something really is, to know who something really is, you got to go to the creator of that thing, right? So if, like, you're trying to learn more about the iPhone, you're not going to go to, somebody who makes doors, right? Be like, I don't know, it's a phone. Like, what do you mean? Right? So it's like, another created being can't tell a created being who they are. So it's going to the creator of who created you to tell you who you are, because that's who knows you best. They created you, so they know you better than you even know yourself. And then it's a process of learning yourself and knowing your true self, just like the creator does. So that's a really deep one. who am I? And that right there decides someone's image and identity. Where people can say, like for me, if I say I'm a model, if that became an identity for me as who I am instead of what I do, then if somebody took away that modeling, if for some reason I wasn't doing jobs for the time being like that, for example, this last year and a half, I haven't done modeling gigs. I've been focusing on other things. And if that was my identity as in who I am as a model, then that means that last year and a half that I wasn't anybody, right? And that can't be the case, where people are thinking who they are in a sense of their job or their position or their platform or the car they drive, the house that they live in. Then it can lead to malfunction within that person, within themselves, because they're putting their worth in something that actually needs them to make it run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like without them driving that car just sits on the lot and it just rusts, right?
No,
like
awesome.
the person, you know what I mean? It's bringing their worth into those things, bringing your true worth into those positions, those platforms, so that who am I is big. And again, I know I'm rambling on, but I get hyped up about this stuff. But
people can think, I love
it. Right. People can also think who they are as in these bodies, right? Where people focus a lot on physical appearance and physical look and things, and then put their worth, their identity in a physical fitness result. But then the thing is that's like, if someone's doing that, then that's no difference in someone putting their worth in the clothes they wear, or again, in the car they drive, or in the house that they live in. You know what I mean? Because there's deeper levels to us inside of ourselves. It's not just this surface level thing. There's so much more to us. So 100%. That's one of the questions. Do I have time to go over the other 4?
Yeah.
Or
how about you just let us know what these 5 questions are, and maybe the audience can just take note of that, and then we can go back to these later, because I'm sure it's going to cover a lot of what we're going to talk about.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So the first one again was who am I? The second one is where am I from? Where real quick, a lot of people think, they're just from a certain neighborhood, or they're from a certain part, a certain city, a certain state, or whatever. But it's like, where is somebody really from? Where am I going? That's a big one. Where is someone going in life? Creating destination, creating a plan for life. Why am I here? Question of purpose. Like, what's the point of life anyways? And then what can I do? And that's another big one as well, where a lot of people think what they can do is just based upon, if you're a Johnson, so Johnsons can only do this, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like, what can I do really? Where it's like the only limits in life are the ones that someone places upon themselves. So yeah, those.
I love it. Thanks so much for sharing. Look, that is so awesome. I think as a coach myself, it's important that we ask people very specific questions so they can get an answer to something they haven't even known an answer for, right? And that's how I believe someone can start taking action. So awesome. Do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown of how you got into the modeling industry and what agency you worked for and what was it like? Just give us a bit of a rundown, and then we're going to go into a very specific topic that we definitely want to discuss today that doesn't really get discussed very often.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so modeling, it's funny. So I started about 6 years ago. I remember I used to play college basketball. So like my senior year in college, didn't go the way I planned. I was injured coming in. I ended up leaving school and then finishing up school online. I was looking to transfer to another school and finish up college basketball. So my initial thought with modeling was like, man, like, if I go to this school, I was looking at modeling like, man, maybe you could pay for this, pay for school, right? But it's funny because, I was trying to play basketball still. I had a big dreams of playing professional basketball. And people would always tell me like, you should model or you should act. And I was like, no, like, why would I do that? Like, I want to play ball, right? But it's funny, like I started having a desire and a passion, like to even explore it, right? So I remember like, I reached out to a local agency in Columbus, Ohio, and they till this day never reached back out to me. So I reached out to a friend of mine. She modeled. I went to college with her, and she was telling me who to reach out to, what agencies to talk to, what to do, because obviously I didn't know anything about anything, right?
Totally.
Like modeling, like what? But yeah. So I did. I reached out to all these agencies, and one of them contacted me right back. And to this day, only I reached out to everybody and only two reached out to me, one of them being IMG.
That's so
And,
cool.
it's funny that, God is absolutely incredible. God opened up a door. Like, it's so cool learning now, like these principles and laws of life and things like that. Because it's like, there's a whole thing that we talk about in Success Epitomized within our transform our finances system of like giving ahead, giving forward. Where like a lot of people will talk about giving back, but it's like giving forward to a spiritual advisor, to a mentor, to someone who's functioning at a higher level than you. Then it allows you to function at a higher level as well. You know what I'm saying? Once you give forward, then it allows you to function at a higher level as well. So that's what I was doing with my spiritual mentor, my spiritual advisor. Shout out to Dr. Anthony Rodman. Great dude right there.
Dr.
Man,
Anthony.
Dr. Anthony Rodman. But just a whole powerful thing. Like, again, I'm big on my faith and stuff too. There was a story of someone who gave like the last little bit of oil they had to this prophet. And then after she did that, then she was blessed abundantly because she was able to go into the flow that the prophet had. So I was like at this space in my life where I was giving the clothes off my back. I was giving the best of what I had, to this ministry, to what Dr. Anthony Rodman was doing. And it allowed me to function at a higher level, to now have these massive doors open up and God to do these really cool things where it's like the measure you give, the measure you receive, right? Like, I'm not saying just take the clothes off your back and go give it to somebody. Like, obviously not. Like, there's like, according to the universal system of prosperity and success, there's leaders, there's people who are in certain positions that are looked at as, proper leaders by the divine, by the universal system of prosperity and success that allows somebody to, be a part of that flow, to be a part of that level they're functioning at if, gone about it the right way. So all that to say, this dude reached right back out to me at IMG. And I read on the internet that like, you got to be careful about these spams, right? With modeling, you got to be careful, right? So I was like, all right. I was like, I'm not about to get spammed. Like, you're not about to get me.
You're like, you're not spamming me.
Right. I'm like, you're not spamming me, bro. Like, this isn't going to happen. So I pick up my phone all like, boss, like, you're like, yeah, I'm not getting spammed. Call IMG. Yeah, call IMG. And somebody answers like, hello, IMG. And I'm like, yeah, IMG. Is somebody just emailed me JD, shout out JD. This was cool. I still remember this to this day. I was like, yeah, JD emailed me. Does he work for you guys? And the person on the phone was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. So click. And then I just sat there like, let's go.
Yes, how good. I love it when like something like that happens in your life and you're like, yes.
Right. It was amazing. Like, I remember getting hyped. Like, I was like dancing through the living room. I turned on, again, real big on my faith. Like, I turned on praise and worship. I was hyped up. Like, I was pumped. So it was cool because from that moment, like, I talked to them, I talked to them on a Friday. And then they're like, hey, we'll get back to you, basically. So all weekend, I was waiting for the response. On Monday, they responded back and like, hey, we want to give you a contract. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, sweet. So from that day, like, I graduated college like 2 weeks later. And then 2 days after graduating college, I moved to New York City. And I've never been to New York before that. Like, it all happened so quick. I was like, man, God is so amazing. Like, the divine is so amazing. I'm so grateful. It just, the door just opened up and it was so cool. Like, I was in New York City. Yeah, like, I was in Times Square, like, wow, like, this is so cool. I've never been in New York City, never been on a train before. So I was on the subway, like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
it's like totally. These 30 trains. Yeah, so.
Awesome. So you were in New York City. So tell us about, you moved to New York City. You obviously started your career. By the way, what were you studying in college?
Yeah, so I studied business management.
Business management.
In college.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess that built the foundation for you. And then you're at New York doing amazing things. So what was the 6 years of modeling like for you? Like, what did you experience? What did you do? What did you learn?
Yeah. That's a phenomenal question, Holly. You're really good at this. Okay. So those 6 years. So right when I got into New York City, like, again, all glory to God, but like I started working with Calvin Klein like right away. Like I modeled when I was like 6, like a couple times, so like I started modeling with, Calvin Klein, like Versace, like they got me a passport. Like I'd never even been to LA before this, New York City, then a month later I'm in Milan. I'm like, let's go. This is amazing. So yeah, like doing shows and stuff like that. So I was super grateful for it. And that whole process, like early on, was like learning for me, like, okay, why did like the divine open this door for me? Why would the divine allow me to be put into this place? Where I was learning early on, like, okay, what's the purpose and the point of this anyways? You know what I mean? Like now, like looking back, I learned so much from those experiences because I learned to have standards. I learned to go about the profession a certain way. Yeah, like I learned that I can say no.
Yeah.
Like how to have standards. Like what is like God's purpose for me in modeling? Why would God even open up that door? What's the whole point of me being in that anyways? And how to go about it properly according to divine standards, So it's been a journey from there. Like I took, after being in, New York City, I was there for about a year. I took like a year off after that time just to, kind of center myself to be back into that place of like, okay, like focusing on my relationship with God, my relationship with myself. Like, what's the point? Why would I even model anyways? How do I go about this properly? And then another door opened up where I went out to LA for some time and went out to Australia for some time. Australia is amazing. Yeah, like I love it out there. It's awesome. I would love to go back. Like I spent some time in Sydney, Melbourne.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Byron Bay. I was up in Byron Bay a little bit too. It was beautiful up there. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, another world. So you like obviously got to travel amazing places and you got to experience amazing things, but you also got to, I think out of all this, you always ask yourself why, right? You always ask yourself like, why am I doing this? And always taking a step back and making sure you're centered, right? Because I know so many people like used to be in the acting industry myself. Like I know how easy it is to get caught up in, I guess, wanting to be seen, where your identity is, what you have to look like, how many followers you have on social media. Like it was just full on it. And I remember taking a step back. I'm like, why do I have to try so hard to be someone else? Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
So you really have to like be centered, just like you were saying, like the fact that you took a year off, like, that's pretty cool. So look, let me ask you this question. Throughout the industry, like, and this is something I wanted to bring up today for the audience listening.
Of course.
We've realized that there is a lot of, I guess, everyone's okay with body image, I guess, issues or whatever you want to call it with women, right? Women empowerment, women are beautiful no matter what size you are. And women empowerment is very, very big on social media and in today's day and age, right? But where's the men's empowerment? I thought about this and I was having a conversation the other day with a friend. I'm like, just telling me all these stories about these guys who, are still being called fat even though they're skinny and they're not up to the standards and no girls gonna like them. All these things, right? But nobody ever talks about it. Men's, I guess, image, So I guess you being in the modeling industry, what was it like? I mean, how was body image portrayed in the modeling industry and did you struggle with it at all?
That's a great question, Holly. And what you said before, like, because we got to touch on that. That was real, super quick. You said, like, why do I have to work so hard at trying to be somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, that's deep. That's real, where it's like, it's exhausting to try to be someone else. Like you said, you're an actor where it's like, you're always acting a part nonstop. Like we call that the avatar. Like on social media, you got the avatar up, because it's how you want people to see you, how you want to be portrayed by the world. But then we ask that question again, shout out to everybody at Success Epitomized. We asked that question of who were you before the world told you who you should be?
Yeah,
like get into that very essence of who you really are. Like before someone created that fake image of themselves to just survive in the world or to survive in society, who are they really? So I thought that was super deep. what you just said. I was like, oh man, that's real. Might have to
Yeah.
steal that from you. Might have to steal
That's
that from you.
awesome. I love that question. I love that question that you use
Yeah.
with who you work with. That's just amazing. And if you're listening to this, ask yourself that question today. And it's deep. Sit down, take some time to really think about it, because it could potentially change your life, right? So let's go back to, I
Yeah.
guess, men's body
Yes, of
image in
course.
the modeling industry in today's day and age. What's your take on that, and have you struggled with it?
Yeah, great question. It's funny that the fashion industry, like as a whole, has really struggled with that, where it's like we're body image on both sides, where there's a lot of pressure to fit a certain image or to fit a certain look. And I know a lot of people can feel that, from society in general. Where like I remember I had a roommate one time who like had a six pack, right? Like was shredded up, but was talking about himself like he was fat, he was overweight,
Yeah.
and had a really low perspective on himself. Where I was like, man, like, this stuff is deep. Where like for me, I did really struggle with the body image. Like,
Oh,
to be
wow.
honest, I really struggled with it. So it's like a thing where it's like, but it's funny now because knowing we're like what we see with our eyes, right, is like an optical illusion. Like our true eyes are our inner eyes. Like our vision is being projected into our reality, where it's like we create our reality. So if we want a new reality, we got to go internally and change what we're seeing internally. So somebody's always on social media and they're always watching like, what someone else looks like or how someone else is or who someone else is. Then they can try to create something inside of themselves and think, I have to be that way to be good enough. And now they're projecting that onto their own life and not seeing how great and amazing they are right now, where it's like I looked at myself and I looked at past pictures I took where I had a really critical view on myself, where it was like, I didn't like how they looked. I didn't like how I looked. And now I look at the pictures, I'm like, these were great pictures. Like, I really like them,
Oh my
where
gosh,
it's
we
like,
all do that though. Like I do exactly
isn't
the
that
same thing. Like
real?
I'll take photos for the gram and I like look at it and they're in my drafts. And I'm like, I'm not gonna post these. These are horrible. And then I'm 2 months later, I'll go back. I'm like, whoa, these are pretty good images.
Yeah,
Why did I post it?
right. And that's amazing because it's like, and it's funny because nothing about the photo changed. Like it's just our perspective
Yes.
changed. How we saw our self-love, how we view ourselves changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like it's a really rocky road and a really dangerous thing to like put like your own viewpoint over yourself and how society, what they say, because now it's like giving your ego to somebody else. It's giving your free will to somebody else to tell you who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to look, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying?
Like that free
Which is a
will
really,
to give to somebody else. That's crazy. That's like
yeah, right. So yeah, with all that being said, like again, this stuff changed my life. Like we talk about, we have a transform your health system. Talk about transforming health internally first. You know what I mean? Because everything in the seen first came from the unseen, right? Where it's like if you can't look at yourself right now in the mirror and see how beautiful, how handsome, how amazing, how awesome you are, and really love yourself, it's not an issue with physical stuff. It's not an issue with how you look. It's an issue with how you look at yourself. You know what I mean?
yes.
Where it's like, if you can't view yourself as amazing, incredible, awesome, beautiful, handsome, all that stuff right now, then you won't be able to do that either when you reach physical fitness goals that you're looking to reach, where it's like people are trying to look like celebrities, but celebrities are getting plastic surgery. Like they're trying to look like somebody else too,
Yeah.
So it's like, where does it stop? And nothing
Yes.
against obviously anyone who got plastic surgery or anything like that. Like just an example of like the perception of it, where it's like during those times where I really struggled with body image, I really struggled with my view upon myself. Like even if I reached the fitness results that I wanted to reach, or that I deemed worthy, or that I thought society would deem worthy or whatever, I wouldn't have even known it because I was so critical of myself. It would have never been good enough anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
We're like, yeah. So it's like that transform your health system. We talk about spiritually, how to be healthy spiritually, how to be healthy soulfully, mentally, emotionally, and physically, where it's like, there may be people that go to the gym all day and follow these certain diets all day, but don't reach the certain results you're looking to reach because they're fighting the thoughts towards themselves. They're doing all these workouts. They're they're eating certain levels of food, but then they're saying about how they aren't good enough. They're thinking how they aren't good enough, how they're not, this or that. And ultimately, where it's like the power of life and death is in the tongue, where somebody's doing all these physical actions and then saying they're not good enough, they're not beautiful, they're not this, then that's overriding their physical actions and keeping them in that place of always thinking they're not good enough, always thinking they don't look good enough, always thinking, you know what I'm saying? Instead of celebrating,
100%.
loving, and uplifting themselves. Like, it's like, someone carves a marble statue, right? A marble statue. The person that carves that statue, they already see that vision inside of themselves. Like, they're going to carve whatever vision they see inside of themselves, right? And then they put the physical action to it. So they can carve the most incredible statue that they see inside of themselves. But again, everything from the seen first comes from the unseen, where they're carving what they see inside of themselves, So now they're putting physical actions where now they're carving what they see inside of themselves. But if they look at themselves negatively, if they look at their work critically and always are hard on themselves, they could carve the most quote unquote perfect, flawless statue and then still look at it and say, this isn't good enough, just because they're critical and hard upon their work. And we got to change the whole thing anyways, where it's like, even think about the most shredded up, person, right, in the world, right? Maybe they eat more food than they're used to at a meal. Then they say what? They're bloated. Everybody's felt it before, right? They're bloated, right? So what? For those 3 hours that they're bloated and maybe their abs aren't showing, for those 3 hours that they're bloated, are they not beautiful anymore? And then all of a sudden the food digests and then they're beautiful again.
It's just crazy how the mindset was all mindset. And the thing is, like, this happens to almost everyone, right? Not everyone, but most of us as humans, right? We think that like we're going to be happier and we're going to love ourselves more. And life is going to be so much better once we get to this perfect shape, or we buy this house and buy, actually we think we want this life, right? And we think it's going to make us happy. But once we get there, most of the time, we're not actually happy at all, right? And that is what 30 Days to Happiness, like the book. If you haven't got it yet, go purchase it. I'll put the link in the description. But that's what 30 Days to Happiness is all about, is actually being happy right here, right now, no matter what's happening, past trauma, your physical situation. Like, you have a choice, and the choices are through your habits, right, that you make. So with body image, let's just say someone is really struggling body image wise. They're a male, they're a female, and they have this idea of what they want to look like. But no matter what, they've got abs, they've got a booty, or they feel amazing and they look in the mirror and they're like, I think I'm getting there, but I'm still not happy. What would you say? Because we've already talked a lot, but in simple action steps, what would you tell those people to start doing to help optimize their belief system?
Of course. Well, what I would tell them to start doing is like figure out why they want those results anyways. A lot of times people want certain results to get approval or to be accepted or to get attention or to feel like they're loved or to feel like they're good enough. So then I would ask that person to get to the root of like, well, why do you even want those results anyways? And then after getting to the root of that, I'd be like, well, why would you not see yourself as good enough now? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, again, people would want a certain result because of what's underneath that result, thinking that it'll get them more attention or more approval, or people will look at them with more respect and things like that. And it's like, instead of looking for that from other people, like, pay more attention to yourself, give yourself more love, give yourself more respect, uplift yourself more. You know what I mean? And then like what you said, that whole thing of like trying to get to a certain destination, then everything will be okay. Where it's like, no, we call that destination addiction, always reaching for something outside of yourself to give you, what you can already have right now. The process is the destination. The journey is the reward. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%.
So that's what I would ask that person. So,
and that's exactly right. Like the journey is the reward, but no one will actually understand that until they've gone through the journey and they've got the reward and they realize that they don't feel any different. They feel satisfied that they've gone from A to B and they've put all the hard work in, but then they're like, what now? What now? What happens when I launch this business? What happens once I finish my marathon? What happens? In the movie, I think it's The Queen's Gambit, I think it's called. I don't know if you've watched it. It's so good. It's on Netflix, about the chess player. Anyway, but one of the scenes, there's, I think, maybe 13 years old. She plays chess against a 13-year-old boy, basically. And he just wants to be the best in the world. And that's literally his goal, right? And she
Yeah.
was, I guess, kind of like saying this towards realizing it herself. But she was saying to the boy, she's like, what are you going to do after? What are you going to do once you're the best in the world? And he goes, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Right? I
Wow.
don't
That's
know what I'm going to
deep.
do. Right? So
Wow.
think about that. If you're going through a situation and you think you're going to be a lot happier once you get to that destination, like Zach was just saying about destination addiction, that's a perfect way to put it, right?
Yeah.
You're always going to ask yourself, like, all right, what now? What now? Because you'll never be happy once you
Wow.
get there. So it is the journey, right? So how do we, Zach, enjoy the journey?
Yeah. That is a great, great, great question. So enjoying and embracing the process, I think there's a microwave type mentality, right? Even with social media now, you can scroll and you can get the whole, information in a 10-second video, right? where, where it's like, and a lot of it can come from just what we call it fasting, right? And fasting isn't just not eating, obviously. Fasting is just, okay, remove oneself from social media.
Yep.
Remove oneself from the things that is making somebody feel like I have to reach this place. I have to be here to be good enough. I have to do this to be good enough. Because that's one of the things, the biggest motivation killer is comparison. Like trying to compare yourself to someone else. And a lot of that can come from social media. We're like, this person looks so happy. They're standing on the top of the Eiffel Tower. I don't even know how they got up there. That's amazing.
Yeah,
And
totally.
they're like, dang, but what about me?
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, and not even realizing all that was just Photoshop. And it's like, people only let you see the type of, what they want you to see, right? So it's like, don't compare yourself to anybody else. You can use other people's stories and levels of success as motivation to know, hey, there's no such thing as a superior person. There's only superior actions, words, thoughts, plans, systems. So if somebody else did something, I can do that too. But the whole thing is, it's like, for that situation, we talked about the destination addiction, for that to actually be good for that person, they got to be able to handle the responsibilities that come with that thing. You talked about, man, I started a business. Now I'm a business owner. Let's go. Like, okay, well, now you got to run a business, bro.
That's exactly right. And like, more success requires more responsibility, right? And we've got to remind ourselves of that. If you don't want that responsibility, then you don't want that success in your life. It's simple as that, because you're not willing to put in the effort, right? So
that's real.
I think that is so well said, Zach. So look, last question before we go through that famous 4 last questions, which you have no idea. They are. Don't freak out. Anyway,
I'm about to sign off.
Last question before I get there is, what's the toughest thing you've ever gone through? And that's actually built you up to become the person you are today.
Interesting. That's deep. So, toughest thing I've ever gone through. Wow. So you're coming with some real questions. Huh? That's real.
No fake
toughest thing I've ever gone through. All right. So it can be tough to, like, those moments of not knowing who you are can be really tough. Of, like, thinking that you wanted something and then you have it and then it doesn't matter. Those can be tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Purpose behind every situation, right?
Purpose behind everything, of course. So, like, it's been tough to, like, we call it, again, the avatar, but dying to that avatar. Like, that's probably the toughest thing that I've been dealing with, was just, like, letting go of that fake person so I can be who I was really created to be. Where it's like, again, it's exhausting. It's exhausting trying to act like somebody else, It's exhausting, with the fake person. It's like you're literally carrying another person with you. That's why people feel the weight so much and feel this burden, because it's like you're carrying another person on your back. But it's like, it can be hard to let that person down, because it's like, well, I've been comfy doing it this way so long. I thought this was who I was. But then it's like, when you're really not, and then now it becomes a thing of, well, I'm not this person anymore. What happens to the relationships I had? What happens to what I used to do? And it's like a whole total renewal of life,
Yeah.
Because it's like that new life, that new space that someone's looking for, with all that they desire, with the amazing blessings that life has to offer, all that they were created to be in life. You can't bring your old baggage with you. There's only a certain amount of weight of baggage that you can take on an airplane. So you can't fly holding all this baggage with you.
Perfect analogy.
So that has been tough in a sense of like just dying to that old person, dying to that superficial person so I can really be who I was really created to be.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. So full of wisdom. Alrighty. You ready for this? I'm gonna ask you
man, 4 questions. That's real because that was a real question. That should be one of the 4.
No, these are just
that's
extra.
Not one of the 4.
They're not that hard. They just have to think on the spot. All right. The way I want you to answer these questions is the first thing that comes to the top of your mind. Don't think about them too much.
Let's do it.
Let's be authentic. All right. What is your favorite quote, saying or verse which you currently live by?
Ooh, anything is possible for those that believe.
Woohoo! I love that. Cool. What are your 3 daily habits you would not trade for anything?
Ooh, so the waking up in the morning, spending time with the divine.
Yeah.
Worshiping the divine, self-love, where affirmations, where loving myself. And then also working out.
Yeah. All
I really
healthy.
enjoy that, so. Mentally
and physically healthy. I love it. I love it. Cool. What would you say to someone who feels like giving up right now?
Ooh, I would say, what is making you feel that way? And the whole thing is like, there may be some things that somebody needs to give up in life, to be honest, where it's not quitting, where there's some things where it's like, you need to give that up so you can actually, function properly and function in life how you're created to be. But I would say the whole thing of giving up, I would say they have so much more life to live. Life has so much more for you. I would say you're incredible, you're amazing, you're awesome, you're wonderful, you have unlimited potential inside of you, unlimited greatness inside of you waiting to come out. And there's a beautiful process and journey that awaits you, making that first step of choosing to be who you're created to be and releasing the seed of the divine that was placed inside of you to absolutely change the entire world and change how you were living so that you can be again all you're created to be. That's what I would say.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, last question before we wrap it up.
All right.
What is your definition of happiness? Now, I'm going to ask every single person this question. And the whole idea of this podcast is everyone's got a whole definition of everyone's got a completely different definition of 2 things, success and happiness. So what is your definition of happiness?
Wow. That's a really good question. So happiness to me is a feeling of excitement, a feeling of like satisfaction, fulfillment in a sense. I think the interesting thing with happiness is like, because it's a feeling of feeling a certain way, where it's like, if there's a certain situation where someone doesn't necessarily feel happy in that situation, they may look at the situation as a negative thing instead of like, well, no, it's if you feel uncomfortable in this situation, that's good because you're growing, because you're becoming greater, because you're growing past, old habits or old things that person may have dealt with to become, a greater person, a greater version of themselves. So I would say joy is a powerful thing. To have joy, is so powerful, that whole thing of joy of like in any situation, in any circumstance. You see a lot of times with children, you'll give a child a cardboard box and then automatically it's a Hummer, it's a tank, right? And they're having so much fun in this cardboard box, right? Where a lot of times people may look at their lives and then not see the great things that's going on in their life and going on around them because of that lack of joy, that lack of, this is a cardboard box. I can play in this. This is amazing. Thank you for this. Let's do this, where people are like, I want a house. I want a family. I want this. But that studio apartment you're in right now, that's amazing. 3 years ago, you would have loved to be there. You know what I mean? So cherish it, make the most of it, be joyful in that place, and, keep your feelings in the proper place. We're not being led by feelings. Feelings can enhance, the scenario feelings can enhance everything, but that whole thing of like, I don't feel like it. I don't feel that can be a tough thing to live life that way, but release that joy inside of you and realize that, again, everything you need in life is inside of you right now. It's just learning how to release that, be joyful in every situation. So
yes, I love it. Great ending. Oh, thank you so much for all your words of wisdom today, Zach. You're seriously such an inspiration. So if people want to follow you or reach out to you, can you please tell us how they can do that?
Yes, of course. So on Instagram, it's zriddle1. I could probably have a way cooler username. Maybe I'll ask Holly about that. She seems really creative. But yeah, zriddle1 on LinkedIn. It's Zach Riddle, ZACH, and then space RIDDLE. And then you can also check me out on successepitomized.com/Zach Riddle. Check out all the wonderful things we have to offer there, the wonderful team we have in place that specializes in business and health and sports, modeling, acting, family side of things, on incredible stuff that we have there. So whatever you're looking for, we can help. So yeah, check that out as well.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I'm going to link all your socials and websites in the description. So if you want to go check Zach out or send him a message, please do so. Otherwise, if you enjoyed today's episode, please screenshot it and share it on your Instagram story or any social media. We would appreciate it. Again, this is not about us. This is about helping every single person on this planet to become happier and live with purpose. So please share it with a friend. Otherwise, have a fabulous day and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, Zach.
Thank you, Holly. Appreciate you.